Testing, testing. Okay, all right, weird. So, welcome in. My name is Christoph. I am an educator, teacher, tutor, mentor, and I've been teaching for, well, over 15 years, everything from mathematics, fifth grade, all the way to 12th, plus college and university. I still do it. I love it. It's one of the things that keeps me alive, keeps me going, keeps me kicking, with life bringing, life being life. One of the things to see others succeed and overcome their own struggles in life. And this is a very inspiring part of my job. And I hope everyone does find a job that indeed it inspires them. Now, over a cup of coffee in a second, we're going to be talking about AI for a bit. Going to do a little reaction. I use AI every day. I program with it. I use it to structure ideas, videos, um, programs, sessions, content that I may need to focus on for students. I use it for a lot. And there is a value in AI. Now, the value is also directly correlated with the individual applying that AI, which means AI by itself doesn't have value. That's what the whole AI verdict is trying to prove against, right? But we can see just from, you know, Microsoft basing its code with AI, 30%, just 30% of its code is AI, and now Microsoft is unusable ever since they made that push throughout their whole, well, corporation. If you don't use AI, you're going to get fired. They really pushed it. They pushed it really hard. And on the other end, they did fire plenty of experienced long-term employees that provided endless value, experience, and knowledge, thinking that AI would basically substitute this individual. With that thought, they said, "Hey, let's let AI lead, and we're gonna get a couple of people here patch up the AI code, right?" Well, again, it's only as powerful as the user that is applying that AI system. Education is the next that seems to be setting up for a fall. I've already made comments here and there about education, about how it's in the US particularly, it's fallen off a cliff in the last couple of years. In comparison to the world, it can be anything related to the actual teachers, it can be related to the actual choices, and in the end, it's the pay. Individuals that you wish to hire, they get hired for cheap just to make ends meet. They're not passionate about what they do. All they want to do is go in, get job done, and go home. And that doesn't make a good educator. The ability to guide, to influence in a positive manner, and to provide insight to those that are entering the world does not come from a paycheck mindset. It comes from those that value their position, value or feel valued as well. It's a very big case for feeling valued as much it is to provide that value. The less you see your value being presented to you from that corporation or institution that has hired you, the less value you will provide. And this is just a human aspect of apathy. So let's dig deep. Let's take a look here at our reaction video. We're going to be talking about this Alpha AI powered school, a private school that essentially is aimed at replacing education. It's a bit of a guinea pig process here. They are trying something out with the poor kids being the frontline experiment. So here it is. This is from Taylor Lorenz. She is amazing, to be honest. I've seen plenty of her videos, many of her videos. She's decently large, as far as subscribers, of course. And she's been growing as an independent journalist. Within that branch, though, you may review or say things that is not of popular opinion or supplementary to those corporations in which you criticize. And it's hard to actually get support from advertisements, from sponsors, from anyone that you criticize. Of course, that makes sense. If you criticize someone's actions, they're not going to support you. This makes perfect sense. So I definitely recommend supporting her. Her journalism has been amazing. And we're going to go and do a quick reaction. Not too crazy long. I'm not going to go through the full video. I will leave the link in the description for you to finish it off and watch the rest of the full video. We're going to kind of go in the beginning, in the middle, and then at the end, about 5 minutes each. And I will leave my commentary from my perspective on education, how I've seen students behave, and is this actually going to be sufficient? Will AI actually help here? The answer might be surprisingly obvious. So let's go.
At ChatGPT right now, they're literally using that. So as a parent, in many ways, you're just like, here, ChatGPT, teach my kid. And if that sounds like a bad idea to you, that's a lot of what is happening there in reality.
Public education in the United States is a disaster. And as more parents are seeking alternative options, a new type of school has emerged that's
First, it's a replacement. Everyone knows we're going from this mainstream public environment where we see mainstream news not be news, rather be a case for influence. They're influencing you to think a particular way, to act a particular way, to do particular things. Think of any disaster that's ever happened and people go buy a bunch of toilet paper. I've always questioned that. Why do you even need to focus on toilet paper? There's water. Wash it with water. Water is good for you and probably better. I always use the analogy, if you step in crap with your Nikes on that cost $500, are you just gonna wipe it with a piece of toilet paper? No, you're gonna wash it with water. So why do we treat our shoes better than our other side? So education is that next sector that is noticed to be subpar, if less, if actually detrimental. The teachers do not have enough guidance, they do not have enough control. And because parents have begun to be a bit more aggressive to the educational system, compare a time where rulers were used to discipline children to now children smacking their teachers in class with no repercussion. These environments have indeed created these sort of horrible, horrible public educational sentiments, and thus we're looking for an alternative. And here it is.
been getting tons of hype. Alpha School is a new school with over half a dozen locations across the country that claims to be the first ever AI-powered private school where kids can get all their schoolwork done in just 2 hours a day. But surprise, surprise, things are not exactly what they seem. Emmanuel Mayberg, a reporter at 404 Media, recently got a hold of tons of leaked internal documents that reveal what's really going on at Alpha School. Today,
Students are being treated like guinea pigs inside an AI-powered private school. This is my perspective on AI and the push for AI. Because investors, we know investors and stakeholders have a huge hand in the direction of companies because companies want that money. You have to think a company has two forms of making money. One is from the products it sells, from the corporation itself, as it finds a return on investment. But now, through those revenue cycles and people not being able to contribute as much as they used to as a consumer due to lagging economic situations, the biggest and most profitable space for return on investment is investors, stakeholders. This is why OpenAI bought out 70% of the market of hardware. This is why RAM is now 400% overpriced. These investors are contributing, they're giving money to these corporations, and these corporations are using that money. And that one use case for OpenAI is they just bought up all the hardware. This is the power of a stakeholder in mass. When many of them gather around an idea, it gets pushed very hard. That money is power, and those stakeholders have the full control over the direction. So as us, as consumers, we still have some power. We've had more power in the last, maybe it's 10 years ago, especially before 2020 COVID. Um, but we've been losing that consumer power, buying power, ever since the economy has made a switch. Investors, stakeholders, anyone buying equity, anyone putting money into an investment, that money is being used against regular people. And this is essentially where a lot of problems are beginning to manifest, including the AI bubble, Microsoft's horrible updates, NVIDIA's horrible updates. I had a problem with an NVIDIA driver that stopped my fan. I had to roll back to a previous driver because for some reason, my fan just decided to stop. And I had to emergency turn off my computer so that my graphics card didn't blow up. So these AI-driven narratives that are trying to essentially replace the human, we have to question it. We have to ask, why are so many things, so many people being replaced from their daily lives? And there's a specific answer, but that's for another video.
Today, Emmanuel joins me to talk about the rise of Alpha School, why its promise is so seductive to parents and mainstream media outlets like the New York Times, and how the school really operates. From invasive Bossware surveillance tools to logically inconsistent AI generated lesson plans to the
Logically inconsistent. I want to emphasize this. Just because I use AI and I use it for code and I use it for laying out a set of problems or like a syllabus or trying to generate actual problems for a specific subject, doesn't mean it's coming out accurate. In fact, there was this recent case I was trying to make look at flashcards with basic addition and subtraction. Now, I've made plenty of these before, and there would be maybe 5 or 10% error, but this one time, I did 100 problems in combination of just addition subtraction.
promise
Uh,
of
oops. And the problems were like 90% wrong. I had to go through the whole list of 100 problems and correct it. It was off by one. It was off by two. The wrong answer was selected, the wrong output. And this is just basic 5 plus question mark equals 11. Fill in the gap. The AI didn't get that. So it's not 100%. In fact, it's way less. I would say on a basis of statistics, we're looking at a 60, 70% confidence interval with an error rate of about 30 to 40%. Now, if you know statistics, you know that acceptable values are like 85, 90% for minimum. And if you're a surgeon or a rocket scientist, you're looking at 95 to 99% confidence intervals. Delicate pieces of machinery that cost people's lives. We need confidence. We need low error. But to accept a machine that deals with about 40 to 30% error in its generative process and to use them to teach the kids that will grow up with that knowledge. I already have students with AI. They have used AI. They have used it as a guide. They have also used it as a help me just solve the problem and get the answer. None of them are capable of correcting AI because they're learning it as they go. So whatever they absorb from the AI is what they think is right. One of my students thought that potentially maybe the class taught him wrong, maybe the AI taught him wrong. The student thought that the inequality eats the smaller number. You know, the little alligator mouth, it's supposed to eat the smaller number. And this whole time he was trying to argue with me that the other way around was incorrect. He learned it that way, so it must be true. And then we finally found answer, and he just had it backwards. Either the AI did it backwards or something happened in the logic that you can see how one individual being confidently presented with a piece of idea that's supposed to be education, and it's a wrong idea, they will carry that forever unless someone comes in and tells them that's incorrect. You have to think of it in the opposite. The inequality eats the bigger number, or easier to say, it always points to the smaller number. there's a little lesson in math for you. But this is important because little details like this completely break a person's education. Just one little implanted failure, one implanted error will carry on to every single problem in the future. And then they wonder why it's always wrong. It's because they've been taught backwards. And this is the problem. Now, we're going to be doing this with kids. We're going to be using them as guinea pigs. Poor kids. No wonder it's called alpha. Alpha schools promise. Because it's not even in beta yet. It's not even in a beta usable state. It's before even like final launch. It's not even production yet, and they're still using it in the real world situation. And I bet you there's documents in there that, you know, stop them from being liable. Using the software is experimental, and if anything goes wrong, then we're not liable for the issue. Da 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 da. The production. Da 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 da. No liability charges. La da da da. Can't sue us. La da la da. Like, and you're gonna put your student, your child, the person that will carry on your legacy, the person that will have a life of their own in 10, 15 years through this experimental phase. It's crazy. We're actually like so far gone without training wheels, without making sure this AI is actually usable and accurate. We're just pushing all this stuff out there. Experiments everywhere. Windows experimenting with updates with AI. Schools are now experimenting with teaching the future generations with AI. If we continue and this becomes a majority concept, future looks bleak.
Eliminating all human teachers and more. We're going to dive into what's really going on at Alpha School and why all of this matters for the future of education. Emmanuel, welcome to Power User.
Hey, thanks for having me.
To start off, can you tell us a little bit about Alpha School, how it started, and what the sort of original concept and promise was?
So Alpha School advertises itself as an AI-powered private school. It has physical locations all over the country. It also has an at-home schooling solutions that parents can use to teach their kids. It really is originally something that was called 2-hour
California.
learning, which
Oops.
was started by a woman called
All right, I'm not gonna like beef on out California, but they've done things that have ruined a lot. Mm, education-wise, it's known for having really bad colleges. Uh, it's known for having a lot of disasters, for tons of like ghetto-like areas where people are literally living on the streets. California has a lot of problems, and they're not making it better with this step, letting something like this happen, not having enough oversight to make sure something is properly vetted before we activate it. This seems like a pattern with California. They just don't care, and everyone can do whatever they want, and whoever wins, wins, whoever loses, loses.
Kenzie Price, and the philosophy behind that is we can get students to do all their core education in just 2 hours. Core education being all the studying you have to do in order to score well on standardized tests, on your SATs, and things like that. And then the rest of the day can be used for more enriching education and activities, public speaking, team building, starting your own businesses, just for kids to pursue whatever their passion is.
Look, I've taught my little sister how to actually make a business. I told her the one little line, the one little magical situation. Wherever there's a want, there is a way. Wherever there's a need, there is definitely a way. And I guess she ended up baking brownies in school, putting M&Ms and random little treats on top during the baking process, made some really sweet brownies, and just started selling them at school for like $2 or $3 a pop. That was impressive to hear. She's definitely on the right side of the track, thinking in the right direction. But how often is that a concept that can be pushed? How often do we actually think about the acceptance of a student selling brownies to other kids? Is that normal? When does that become a problem with the school itself? So where is that barrier between let's teach them how to be business, productive, make their own, but also don't involve school. It's not available here. You shouldn't do it here. It's a double-sided, contradicting concept. And students aren't taught how to be producers. They're actually taught how to be consumers. This is the American way.
Point that morphs into the AI powered element of Alpha School, which is we can use generative AI in order to make the learning that happens during those 2 hours more efficient and better and customized for each student.
I was
Wait. Alpha combines adaptive AI for personalized one-to-one learning mastery-based methods for deep understanding. It's not one-to-one. It's not one-to-one. Because it's not even one. It's not a person. It's not even personalized because a person needs to be involved in the personalization. So Alpha combines adaptive AI for personalized one-to-one as a tutor. There is a benefit, a strength of having a one-to-one connection with a student. You're able to involve the student and ask the student the questions that will lead to the answer. And it's not you giving them the answer, which is the opposite of teaching. It's guiding through questioning. One might say Socratic questioning to guide the student to think to the answer. I bet you, and I've seen them happen and do it. These AI, they're not asking the right questions. They're not absorbing what the student is concerned with. They're not asking, hey, where did you get stuck? They're saying, oh, this is how you do it. And the student's like, I don't get it. Oh, okay, well, here's another way to do it. Okay, I still don't get it. Okay, well, if you could do this and you do this and you do this and you do this, you get your answer. It's like, I still don't get it. This is not personalization. I've seen these at work. I've probed into the IXL. I think it was an IXL AI. I've probed into another school using some sort of AI system that was trying to make like the student become a teacher. So like you open up the AI and now the AI is asking you questions. It's cool in a way. Now you're the teacher, you got to present this to 6 other little mini student AIs and you're supposed to explain something you don't understand and you have to start. That doesn't even guide you through it. Just like, hey, you're teaching them, go ahead and teach them. Like, oh, but then I don't know what to do. Okay, well, you have to explain it to them. AI doesn't, these ideas they're trying to push for AI, they don't absorb. In fact, there is a cost. If we wanted to optimize it to every single student, it's a two-way broadband system. The student speaks, the AI processes, trains, and then returns. But that processing and training takes power from the data center rather than spitting an answer. Like student doesn't know it, says I don't understand, and then it spits another answer. It's much cheaper to do it that way. If you had the ability to customize, to truly customize the session for every one-to-one learning environment, because no two students are the same. No 10 are the same. No 100 or 1,000 students are the same. They are all different based on visual, kinesthetic, auditory. And if you have an AI that is just spitting out information and you want to make it more efficient, so you're like, all right, let's let the AI absorb what the student says and think about it extra and customize. That would mean a lot more cost at the data center processing. And now an individual student is becoming a very expensive battery or GPU for that AI. This is the biggest problem with how we don't understand a one-to-one learning environment. We think that just because there's one entity, AI, and one student, that's a one-to-one. But it's much more than just having one and one in one Zoom call. It's the interaction between them that makes it a one-to-one, personalized, an actual deep connection in the sense of Socratic questioning. The teacher to understand where the student may have a fault and maybe not understand initially, but use previous experience to understand where he might or she might have problem and then lead with clues on how that problem can be solved. Sometimes even the student doesn't know what they're having a problem with. How do you know what you don't know? That's the biggest problem. How do you teach someone something they don't know when they don't know what they don't know? You have to follow up piece by piece what they're having issues with. And this is just a teaching method, and AI doesn't have this. It's an autocomplete encyclopedia, still, unfortunately.
In order to make the learning that happens during those 2 hours more efficient and better and customized for each student.
I was telling you this, like, I have seen it from Instagram Reels because I see these like Instagram hype reels basically about the school and like how amazing it is. And it seems like from a lot of the media coverage online, it's received a lot of positive attention.
Yeah, I mean, there's obviously, as you can tell by the expansion, a great desire for an alternative to traditional schooling and the one size fits all model that is what most people have. So it expanded very quickly, and I think not surprisingly, because it is very tech forward and has adopted AI, really gained steam with like Silicon Valley elites. The Trump administration, famously Linda McMahon, the Secretary of Education under Trump, went and visited one of the Texas campuses and said, this is the future of education. So yeah, it's kind of like, it synergizes with like a lot of AI hype and tech hype and is popular for that reason.
Yeah, I mean, I feel like it's being praised all over. I saw this NBC News segment glazing them, Fox News. I also originally heard of
Anytime the mainstream media glazes something, promotes something, it's because money was involved. It's not because it's newsworthy. It's not because it's successful. It's because investors and stakeholders have put money in that article. That's it. Money is involved here. So don't trust it. And man,
about it from the New York Times Hard Fork podcast, where they had Mackenzie on and talked about, you know, this exciting new model of education, which I'm not initially opposed to. Like, I think that the traditional education system is so broken. And when you look at like just the decline of funding in public education in this country and the fact that like a lot of these old school sort of public schools, they're falling apart, they're crumbling. People, you know, the kids inside of them don't have clean drinking water, they don't
wow,
have clean air,
that's
they're
messed up.
huffing in, you know, disease all day and
No,
missing
it's
half the
horrible.
school year for being sick, and a lot of lesson plans.
Indoor air quality in schools is a critical but unevenly addressed public health issues. Poor IAQ negatively impacts asthma, yeah. Absenteeism and learning outcomes, yet state laws addressing school IAQ vary widely. And we wonder why we're trying to find something else. I've also heard that the school bonds are being misused. The tax dollars are being misused as well. The money that goes to help these schools, they're probably buying all the principals their own little BMW. Who knows? But as far as I understand, there's some deeper intertwined issue with the school bond system. The bonds, the treasuries behind the school, the investments that schools make, essentially linked to the market. That's a little bit messy right now.
Probably are outdated and teachers are overworked. So like I feel like the concept of essentially scaling like this more like homeschool system using technology is an interesting one that I'm not initially opposed to. I think the generative AI of it all is what's concerning. I was watching one of the videos where I think it was the NBC News segment where one of the kids has to like debate an AI for his final project, which it's funny because they're debating the topic of social media addiction, which is something I've covered extensively. And actually, there's a lot of disputed research on, and it looks like the kid is like actually parroting misinformation even in this NBC News segment. So when did it get on your
Wow.
radar, and when did you start kind of like thinking, okay, wait, there might be more under the hood than you know it might initially seem?
So first of all, I just want to agree with you. I have a
And remember, this is ChatGPT behind the scenes. This is where the investment and stakeholders have put their money in. And right now, as far as all the AI is possible, Gemini, um, Anthropic, XAI, ChatGPT's fallen behind. But they have the most investment because they were the first ones in. Sam Altman hyped it like crazy, and people got their money in, and now they're stuck. And now we got to do the things that would look like everything's okay and it's getting better and oh wow, ChatGPT is doing great because look, even schools are now having it. No, no, it's just the investors looking for another way to make it look good.
2-year-old, and the education system in this country is such that even at this early age, you have to start thinking ahead about where you're going to send them to school because it's competitive at certain schools and people are very worried about certain public schools, and it's such a determining factor for the rest of your life, the kind of education that you get. So it was on my mind for that reason. And I also agree with you that the pitch is kind of incredible. Like the idea that a student can cram the rote studying and repetition of studying for something like the SAT and then use the rest of their time to pursue their passion sounds amazing to me. Like I wish I had that. Whatever I was good at school is the stuff that I cared about, like writing, and everything else was like torture. So I totally agree with the pitch, and that conflicted a little bit with everything I know about generative AI, which is very faulty. And the idea that generative AI could entirely teach students on its own seemed ridiculous to me. And I was kind of poking around, and eventually I heard from people at Alpha School and got access to some internal documents at the company, and it verified what I suspected, which is it doesn't work like they say.
Ooh.
Yeah, surprise, surprise. Tell me a little bit about the documents that
I mean, again, I opened up with the idea of how I use AI, and it's guided. I have to be always on the lookout for what the AI returns to me and double check it, triple check it. I don't let it lead. In fact, I'm very like opposed to having my OpenClaw access my computer at all, unless I have precautions. Like, hey, your AI is trying to delete a file. Your AI is trying to do this, do that. I don't trust it. But to have it be trusted enough to be used as a private school leader to teach the new generation of kids with this level of error that it has, it's a scary thought.
you found and, where some of the, I guess, reality doesn't match the hype?
So conveniently for me, Alpha School uses this program called Workflowy. I don't know if you've ever encountered it.
Wait, they use Workflowy?
Yes, they use Workflowy, which I learned about via this article. It's like, I believe Notion is like the note-taking app that is also very popular among tech people. And this is kind of like that. It's a note-taking app.
It's kind of obsolete. It was like a previous version, like of what Notion ultimately became.
Right, and it seems kind of clunky. And one of the reasons it seems clunky is that, you have Alpha School, it's this big organization with people all over the world. And it's essentially like one giant scroll that contains notes from everybody. And like every employee goes in there and they talk about, this is what I'm working on. These are the problems that I'm facing. These are.
Hold on. From the student's perspective, when answer options don't logically fit the question, it feels like a betrayal of their effort to learn. I have the students have this issue. This is the problem with IXL. I have so many cases. It's not often, but I feel like some students, it's more often than others, where a problem is presented, there's an answer, and I double, triple, quadruple check the answer, but they provided the wrong actual answer in the selection. And then the student's like, well, how is that not the answer? They're telling us it's the answer. So this is again that concept of students are absorbing information as if it's true. And from a student's perspective, when the answer options don't logically fit the question, they feel betrayed. They feel like, why am I even doing this? Like the efforts they put in is wasted.
This is what I'm working on. These are the problems that I'm facing. These are my thoughts about it. Here's what the challenges are. Here are some potential solutions. Here are some experiments that I ran
That's
about
crazy.
what could fix the problem.
Let's see a little bit further here. Spying on students. What? Chromebooks. I know a lot of students with
It's just that a
Chromebooks.
lot of those software programs are harvesting massive amounts of
Oh,
data, which they then
wow.
go sort of like sell about the kids. And this is why I'm very against all of this stuff. And also, I think why a lot of schools don't want kids using their personal cell phones, which they're increasingly banning, which Google loves, because then the kids have to rely on their Google laptops, which they can then, harvest data from. And I think in your article, you also talk about like Alpha School and the amount of data that they're collecting. Is some of this also like a data play for them?
It is a data play for them in the sense that, and they're transparent about this fact. All the data about what kids are doing on their computer, what they're clicking, what websites they're going to, what apps they use, and then also the audio and video from their laptop cameras is useful to them because it's data, it's
Oh
telemetry about
God.
how well
They're flagging for bullying or drug use based on the websites you're going to. I'm sorry. Is a student looking up how to bully my friend? Potentially can detect things like changes in friend group or sentiment to flag potential emotional issues to parents. We're letting AI datasets be the leading guide on the student's actions or intentions. You ever try to go up to a student and say, "Hey, you're doing this. I know you're doing this." And the student's like, "What do you mean?" "You're being like this. You're doing this bad thing." And the student's gonna fight back. More than likely, the teacher got it wrong, and it wasn't that student. But the student will proceed to be defended or defensive, and it makes the student seem like they're actually doing something or they're defending themselves against something they're actually doing, and all of a sudden now they're at fault for defending themselves for something that I didn't actually do. This is 1984. This is Black Mirror incarnate. Starting in the schools, they're gonna desensitize these poor kids of the future to this sort of AI data behavioral analysis. This is crazy. We're gonna have new jobs and new I mean, I think I've seen a couple of jobs in the market, resume behavioral analysis. I think I've seen those titles in some places or behavioral analyst. That's crazy.
their own programs for teaching are working. So they can see if a kid gets bored or if a kid gets up from their computer during some sort of exercise that they're doing. I think what parents did not realize is that the security and privacy around that data is not what you would hope. And the
It
most
never is.
blatant example of that is all these video recordings of students are just stored in a Google Drive. And for anyone who has shared like a Google document via Google Drive knows you have
They don't even have security on the videos that they collect. Like normally by default, you put a Google Drive item, even on a private account, and you share it. You share the link with somebody, it's gonna ask, can I have permission? You have to go through the settings to say anyone with the link can access it. You have to actually configure each file individually, potentially folders that the files have to be accessible outside without permission. Otherwise, it's going to ask for permission from the person that's hosting the file. But here, they're not even using the basic security measure of asking for permission. They're just letting the videos be accessible online. That's bonkers. Every student recorded and accessible on an online video Google Drive feed. Security is going down the drain, guys. There's gonna be a lot of weird stuff happening in the security world.
one who has shared like a Google document via Google Drive knows you have kind of levels of permissions that you can give. It's like only this person at this email can access this video, or
Right,
only this person with this type of email address at this organization can,
right.
or anyone with this link on the internet can see this.
Anyone.
And that's how they are storing
Just
those
anyone.
videos on that latter option. So it's like if you have the link, if
They
you used to work
defaulted
at the
to
company,
anyone.
if you're at the company and you just send it to someone else, anyone has access to like hours and hours and hours of kids doing
Videos.
these remote tutoring sessions.
That's terrifying and
Yeah,
very concerning. In
very.
October, as you mentioned in your piece, Wired reported that IXL, which is an online learning platform that was used by Alpha
There it
School
is.
students, deactivated Alpha School's account. They said that IXL is no longer a customer. Alpha School violated their terms of service. You report that former Alpha School employees were
Wow.
like, we don't really know why the IXL account was deactivated, but Alpha School regularly uses other online learning platforms materials in ways that may violate their terms of service, either by
Alpha School is training AI based on IXL's information. mm. I know what the funniest part is. All of these AIs, in order for them to exist, they were trained on our information, the internet, everything about us. NVIDIA and OpenAI were even like sued or are being sued for torrenting, for downloading through peer-to-peer networks books without paying for them, and content and videos and downloading everything and feeding it to the AI. This is the typical rules for thee, but not for we, or us, or me, or whatever. When we create these AIs from the stolen data of the public sphere, and now they're complaining that the other person is stealing the AI information that our AI made. This is the problem with DeepSeek too. DeepSeek is trying to use Anthropic or OpenAI to basically like distill their own models. They're like, oh, you can't use our models to train your own models because our models, you can't just steal our models' information like that. But it's like, dude, you stole information to make your model in the first place. It's either public access or it's not. You either pay everyone for the information that you chose to take to make this model, then you can go ahead and justify your own actions and say that no one else can steal your model. But the reality is, all of these corporations, they can easily download and deal in products, content, books, movies, episodes, whatever. But if somebody else like us does it, oh, we're going to go to jail for it. You best believe we can't do what the corporations do. That's crazy to think about. And now IXL, no longer an IXL customer due to violating the terms because they were training off the platform's materials. Crazy.
Copying or scraping. I was immediately thinking of like Khan Academy, which is also
Ooh, I
was sort
love
of
a
like
con.
early to this like online learning world and seems to have like actually a pretty robust like curriculum.
Yeah,
It
I
seems like
love
they're
it.
engaged in a lot of shady business practices.
Yeah,
Con?
like a lot of AI companies, Alpha School just
Oh,
indiscriminately and without permission scrapes whatever it wants from the internet. And there's two main reasons for
there it
that.
is.
One is they wholesale give students access to those materials in ways that they're not supposed to. And that appears to be what happened with IXL, right? So like they buy one IXL license and then they tell the students, here, go do these exercises. That's not how the licensing system works with a platform like that.
Oh, so they have to purchase a license for every student, but they buy one and then they give all the students access to it. It's like it's basic, dude. They're doing the whole family Netflix sharing count thing. You know, before there was like a family plan back what some odd years ago. You would have a Netflix account. You just let everyone in your family use it instead of making account for each person. They're doing that. They're actually doing the Netflix share account to teach the kids. Oh,
So IXL cut them off. Another
yeah.
thing that they do, and I know this because there is like extensive notes about this in the company documents, is textbooks, platforms like Khan Academy and others, they just take all that data and feed it to the AI models to create their own AI teaching product. And actually, I
Yep.
just heard this before we got on the call. I mentioned another company, Albert IO, which does something very similar to Khan Academy. There's notes in the document, in the company documents, that they terminated their relationship with Alpha School because it violated their terms of service. And somebody at the company just got back to me and said they did
Wow.
that because they saw that a bunch of employees at Trilogy, which is the company that develops all this software for Alpha School, was pinging their servers in a way which made it clear that they're scraping their data, and they don't allow that. So they actively terminated their account and gave them a refund.
Look how shady that is. These corporations are trying to get away from giving reciprocating information for information. And who's going to benefit here? It's not going to be Alpha. It's going to be OpenAI. Because what model is being trained? Do you think Alpha A or this Alpha School thing, that they have their own data center with their own AI model that's training itself? No. They're using OpenAI to train a custom model. And when Alpha decides to fall apart and, people just stop using it or they get sued or they just don't have any more content to steal because nobody will accept their contract anymore, They go out of business. They don't have the AI model anymore. Who's going to benefit? Open AI because they have the actual model data. That's sneaky, ain't it? Man, these are like mafia-based tactics. It's crazy to think about.
To be like, we don't want to do business with you. Don't take our data. We're done.
I mean, it seems so unethical. Like, it seems like those companies should sue Alpha School. Like, I don't know. It's like, it doesn't seem like they did the work of even, like you mentioned, building their own curriculum. They're out here scraping. I mean, it's just like AI mindset, I guess, where it's like, let's just scrape
That's
whatever
crazy,
we need. We'll
basically.
generate whatever. We don't have to worry about copyright. We don't have to worry about paying these companies that have invested years in building these educational materials, and we're just going to like test all of this on students. I mean, you talk about in your piece how like these students are essentially being treated as guinea pigs for
Basically. Let's see the
these
end here.
homeschooling pods. And AI seems to be something that they're very interested in because, like you said, it's being sold as this thing. And listen, sometimes it can be a useful study tool. I'm not going to say that like
Yeah,
ChatGPT learning mode is like useless. I'm sure some people get some things out of it, but I don't think it's like ready for the big stage in the way that these people want it to be. And the fact that the Alpha School people too, like it's not even like ChatGPT is doing this. It's like these people that didn't even make their own AI LLM, like didn't create any of their own curriculum
no,
material, like
they're
don't
just
even have a
stealing it,
lot of like
giving
professional
it to
teachers in
OpenAI.
these classrooms and are like
No,
trying to get kids to just like, I don't know, Zoom, with others when they have
this is the same thing that happened to the gaming industry. They wanted to say that gamers, you don't have to be a gamer to be a game developer. You do you though? Think about it. Who has the most passion for the industry? Who has the most creativity to expand an idea, to create storylines based on a common culture of gaming? Not the shareholders, not these business people that hijacked the AAA industries and destroyed all the gaming behind some sort of loot crates and crappy hero shooters. Concord, High Fall, High something, Downfall, whatever that new one is. This is the same thing happening in the education environment. They don't have teachers. They don't have anyone passionate in the subject. They just have a bunch of people in suits running an AI in the background, stealing people's curriculum and methods of teaching, and then trying to make it seem like they're efficiently doing something. Everyone that does this is going to fail because you need a passionate individual in the background or a community of passionate individuals that create something beautiful, not some robotic replicating system that can hardly do it in a 60% accuracy. It's insane. It's insane.
questions. Like it just seems like
Anyway, that's where I'm going to leave it. It's already been like a 48-minute video. If you want to watch the rest of this, I definitely recommend it. If you're in the educational environment, man, we're in for quite a time. Keep your passion, stay strong. This is a phase, it's gonna pass, it's gonna self-destruct. I promise you that much. It's not going to work out. No one, I mean, you're gonna see it's gonna be worse than the public schooling sector, for the record. So stay strong. If you're a student, be careful, use tools to your advantage. Don't depend on those tools, but actually use those tools to help you understand rather than to complete problems, to get points, right? It's not about getting the points. It's about knowing how to do it on your own without guidance. So that's your goal. As soon as you become dependent on these things, then your whole life is in the hands of how efficient that thing is. The more errors, the worse it gets. The more you use it, the more errors. So the more you depend on it, the more mistakes you're going to make in life. Be careful out there. AI is trying hard to be a part of our society, part of our educational system, part of our culture. And it's not because of AI, it's because of these shareholders getting greedy with their money, realizing they overspent on a system that's not efficient because they believed some dude named Sam Altman, just like Sam Bankman, fraud. Sam Altman is a fraud. They're all just a bunch of snake oil selling salesmen trying to sell on something, make money. And while they have a decent product, it's not anything independent. It's like a function. It's not the x variable, right? X is independent, y is dependent. AI is the y variable. X is you. You are the independent variable that influences the y variable. Think of it that way. Hope that made sense. Anyway, keep on trotting, keep teaching, keep the passion going, keep educating, keep learning. Don't stop. Don't use AI unless you're doing it productively and smart. And I'll talk to you in the future. Peace out.